Rafa Benitez out at Newcastle United. According to the bookies, Gary Monk, the favourite to take over. Where was he? Birmingham before?
Yeah, sacked from Birmingham.
Eddie Howe, meanwhile, at sevens at Bournemouth. Mikel Arteta, assistant with Guardiola. Jose Mourinho at 12 to 1.
Have you heard the latest with this?
Come on.
Reported that in the discussions for the new contract, apparently Benitez or his camp emailed Newcastle to say, look, this is not going any further.
Right.
We can't come to an agreement. And before he knew it, Newcastle put out a statement to say he'd left.
Wow, that was it.
So it's not exactly plain sailing. Look, if you thought Jose Mourinho was miserable at Man United, could you imagine him at Newcastle? And I don't mean that against Newcastle Football Club, because it's a fantastic club with a big support, but it's got an ownership that doesn't want to spend money.
Yeah.
So he ain't going to be going there unless that club changes hands.
Gab, just explain briefly, as an outsider looking in, why did this happen? Because obviously Rafa's done brilliantly there, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think simply put, you have an owner, Mike Ashley, who's not popular, doesn't, you know, he's not there because he's a Newcastle fan. He's there because he wanted to make money. He's made his money. He's put the club up for sale. He's not going to invest it further. It's a tremendous crowd. It's a tremendous fan base, 50,000 at St. James Park. They want more. He's annoyed. Rafa obviously wants more, wanted certain guarantees. He wasn't going to get them, and so he walks.
Is there any part of you, if you're Jose Mourinho, just thinking, wow, this would be a great chance to prove everybody that I'm still great, that I've still got it, that I can do it on a shoestring?
No, not a chance. And in fact, I would go as far as to say that most of those guys in that list would not walk into the room or into an office at Newcastle and say, yeah, we want this job, we want this opportunity, because you have to know what the plan for the future is for a club. If you want to take the club in a certain direction, but you don't know what the ownership situation is going to be, how does that secure your position as in a decision-making role as a manager of a club? It doesn't. If you don't know who your boss is going to be, then what are we talking about? And Jose Mourinho, as much as he may like to say that I'm going to prove it on a shoestring budget, nobody wants a part of that. Who wants a part of fighting off relegation year in and year out? Nobody does.
The trouble is what Newcastle had, whether you're a Benitez fan or not, is an elite manager.
Yes.
So they had an elite manager who was prepared to work within those constraints with the belief that at some point the club was going to be sold or the funds would become available. And the problem for Mike Ashley, although it's not a problem for him financially, but in terms of the support turning on him, is that Benitez did such a good job there and became so popular with the fans that he could really do no wrong in the eyes of the supporters. And him and his camp were applying pressure to try and get the club sold or to try and get funds. And it's just not been forthcoming. There's been a bit of money spent, but nowhere near enough to be anything other than mid-table at best. So, unless that club changes hands, there is no elite manager going to take that job.
Gab?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the keys, right? They've come close several times, ultimately to selling the club, and I think that's the one thing that would have kept Rafa around. You know, the prospect that Ashley wants to get out, but he wants to get out on his terms. People see potential in the club, and I think that's how you're going to have to sell it. You know, very honestly, some of those guys who've been mentioned are up and comers. They take the job with the proviso, with the hope that Ashley's going to fed up, maybe drop his demands a little bit, sell the club. Look, if Newcastle find themselves in a situation where they're seriously in danger vis-a-vis relegation, Ashley will spend just enough money to keep the club up to protect his asset. Question is, you could do that when Rafa Benitez was there. Can you do it with somebody else who's maybe less experienced?
And I think the thing for Benitez is that now is a good time to get out, probably.
Yeah.
Because his stock is relatively high from that job, and there might be some big jobs in a few months coming up.
Speaking of getting out, it's a big show tomorrow. Craig's last for 5 weeks.
What? Excuse me.
What?
40 days.
40 days.
What?
40 nights, ladies and gentlemen, without Craig.
100% vacation.
God, I'll be queuing up to come on this show.